players are kind of happy with this one. Speaking of players, spawning in the top right as our Blue Zerg, hailing from France, it is Denver.
Bottom left-hand side. That was a long outro. I feel like they did the second player outro this time for Denver. And this is ShoWTimE! Oh, wow, that's... Ooh, thank you to the band.
So ShoWTimE versus Denver on Ice and Chrome. Like, Ice and Chrome, like... You brought it up earlier, talking about weird maps and stuff. Ice and Chrome is about as unweird as a map can possibly be, right? Like,
yeah, I feel like the map pool in general a little bit unweird this time around.
The weird map being Submarine, it's like, oh, it's a little bit shorter than others.
Yeah, it's a little bit shorter. Must be.
But this one, like, it's got a few destructible rocks that, you know, opens up things a little bit wider than they are and, like, makes the middle path available. Like, it isn't too crazy at all, which I guess is one thing that makes it very easy to adjust onto. But yeah, this is a matchup where you play one of the races finally, Kat. So tell me about it. What's with this? Well, the third or the natural being at the third here, was that because of a pro block or?
Yeah, that's one of the more common Protoss tactics. I think on this map it could probably be avoided with a 15 hatch or so. I'm not sure how often ShoWTimE goes for it, but it's a very uncomfortable thing for the Zerg player to drop their hatchery on the third location, though it is fairly common that we have to do that. So, you know, you're kind of forced onto the gas opening, but most Zergs will go for the gas opening anyway. And this will give him link speed, hopefully to deal with things like adepts, which now benefit from the distance between these two bases.
And back at home for ShoWTimE, he's just doing all the very standard stuff. He's going for a wall in on the low ground with the gateway, the cyber core, getting his Nexus up, getting warp gate going, and chrono boosting out adept. Is there anything that you think we'll see out of this? Like, does it usually involve a second adept to deal damage, or is this just to be scouting him for safety?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see a second adept. This is a pretty standard opening for ShoWTimE. Things are going as expected for him. It's going to be on the defense for Denver for the first couple of adepts, and now we see the first real decision for ShoWTimE here is going to be the Twilight Council.
Twilight Council while getting a Stalker second as well. So the Stalker is very good at denying the scouting, because you don't want your opponent to just freely get away with scouting everything you're doing. And obviously, while a Stalker is a bit of a commitment, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going for anything too crazy. Like, I don't think you ever really open Blink Stalkers in this matchup. Usually it's just about... In fact, I'm looking forward to see what ShoWTimE does with this, because I have seen that he's very much liked Adept with Warp Prism play as an opening. Obviously, this could still potentially be something like a DT opening, but yeah, I've definitely seen him, and yes, he is going for Adept straight away, so it's going to get feisty very quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be Glaives, and very cool. He waited to kill the Overlord, right? When you reveal the Stalker, it's obviously not going to be a Stargate. Usually when you make a Stargate, you just make a Phoenix and that second Adept. But with the Stalker, he says, you know, it's okay if my Twilight Council gets scouted, because it's pretty much expected. It's about whether he goes, you know, in this case for the Adepts, one of the more common build orders, but there's some offshoots like Charge, for example, and DTs are always a possibility with the Archon drop potential as well.
I've got a question to you, actually. Like, when you're a Zerg player and you get your natural blocked and you have to go for the far away third as your nat, do you ever feel like, oh, I'm a bit more susceptible now because I'm spread out more to plays like Adepts like this?
Absolutely, yeah. So you have to get that speed earlier. For me, normally I delay my speed. So when this happens to me, I take the speed earlier. But most Zerg players just get the speed anyway. So I'm not sure if there's too much adaptation that they can do. This is a lot of Adepts, though.
It is,
but it's uncomfortable. Yeah,
it's uncomfortable, but it's not like 6 gateways or anything behind this. It's just 4. So it is pressure. If the Zerg underreacts to it, he can die. If he overreacts to it, the Protoss can get ahead. So it's kind of one of those builds, because we do see that the worker count for both of them is in a pretty decent spot. No real show of what ShoWTimE's going to do afterwards, but getting his extra gases now, still getting more Adepts. So this is definitely getting a bit scary.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, important to highlight how good the positioning for Denver is, but is that going to be enough? The Adepts will shade onto the ramp, and they don't have a lot of surface area, the link that is. Not enough links trapped in the middle there, but with the help of the roaches, it might be enough for Denver to hold without taking too many losses. It's about how many drones die. Now ShoWTimE splitting his adepts carefully, and that spine is beautiful.
The spine in the third definitely helps a lot. Some drones are falling because there are adepts in every mineral line, but Denver's doing a really good job of splitting up his units, I feel, even adjusting where the spine location is placed, and he is actually able to eke out some drones right now. Back at home, ShoWTimE's getting Immortals out because he does see roaches are out, and that's a direct counter to those, but everything said and done, I think Denver handled that fairly decently. Obviously losing a lot of lings to that ramp where the adepts just absolutely obliterated the Zerglings, but Denver's still alive.
Yeah, definitely. I like the hold by Denver. Another thing that we didn't touch on but was very important in that hold is having that creep tumor forward to where his queens could sit near the ramp, because that forced the first shades of the adepts to be from very far away, right? And the commitment to not be perhaps as deep or as easy as ShoWTimE would have liked for the scouting to be limited, and that allows for Denver to really stabilize. But at the same time, I think you pointed out before the adept before the attack accurately that this wasn't a huge commitment for ShoWTimE, and that's why I think this game is just about even right now.
I love those kind of moves where you shade in the adepts and then send in the Warp Prism to pick them up, meaning it's just free damage. But Denver, he hasn't made a drone for a while, and ShoWTimE sees it. That is a lot of Zerg marching furiously across the map at him, and ShoWTimE, he's got to react to this perfectly.
Yeah, and this is a big commitment on the side of Denver. He sees the units that ShoWTimE has. I mean, it's a scary clump. Those sentries are going to be key here in holding on either side. One force field goes down. A lot of units on the right side actually are not going to be allowed through, but yeah, no more force fields, and Denver able to pounce onto the army of ShoWTimE, pushing it back now to the shield batteries.
Oh, it's overcharged though in the bios. ShoWTimE is dodging them. That Immortal is soaking up a lot of damage there. ShoWTimE actually ahead in supply against this, but it's a little bit deceiving because he has quite a few more probes. The Lings are getting on top of the units now. The Ravagers launching a lot of bios, but using the Warp Prism to dodge the bios. Beautifully played by ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I like Denver placing all of his bios onto one single position there. I can understand it, but there's a Warp Prism, and that means, you know, you can always retrieve the one unit that would definitely get hit, or the couple of units that would definitely get hit. To not give credit to a player like ShoWTimE in order to do that, I think is you know, overreaching. I really liked the attack by Denver overall, but ShoWTimE is, yeah, he just has so much, right? I think that you have to save the vials as well for the overcharge now. I don't think that's, you know, debatable either. But maybe he felt like he needed to fight for space.
I agree as well. As soon as you see that overcharge going down, that battery, with energy or not, is healing so damn much. And given that it's a static target, you know, you might as well go for it. Like, it's going to heal so much if not. But I agree with you about bios, because very often people just think about bios and the damage that they cause, but they also cause opponents to move a lot. So, and reducing the damage. So if you can potentially do that, oh, that poor queen.
Yeah.
Fire from the sky landing all over. But yeah, this is definitely a dicey spot for Denver now, because when a Protoss is ahead of you in supply and you've got quite a few Ravagers and stuff, which aren't necessarily the most supply efficient unit, it's a rough spot to be in.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think you're spot on the vials, right? You wanna use the vials sometimes to say you can't move here, kind of like force fields basically, right? And if you move there, you take damage. So it really comes down to the situation. It's very difficult if you're on the situation that Denver was in, because maybe he felt like he needed to basically eliminate something like an Immortal right away to stand a chance, right? Like, that can be an assessment that you make. That's like, you know, it's either all or nothing on the vials. So you know, how you spread the vials also has to do with that. Oh, a lot of Zerglings gonna be trapped, actually.
Oh.
Missing one force field.
Yeah, I like how the army as well was just kind of like wandering over, you know, like kind of chasing them. Let me through too. But it was also funny. Our observer there was showing us a drone that kind of got to ShoWTime's side of the map. Right now, though, Denver's trying to get up to an army that's made to buy time, I feel. Like Burrowed Roaches isn't necessarily super good at the head-on engagement unless it's not spotted and you unburrow beneath the whole army. But I really like ShoWTime's position here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Denver is trying something. You know, he has to try something. It's either going to be something like a massive amount of biles or something crazy like burrowed banelings or burrowed roaches in this case. Just hope your opponent doesn't have an observer. Wow! This is surprising from ShoWTimE, and that's going to make it so that a lot of those stalkers are in danger as well. I felt like he could have maybe fought there even by being overly cautious, and now Denver with a very strong counter offense.
I mean, maybe he assumed there was more than there was and just wanted to be safe, didn't want to throw away any sort of lead he has, but I don't think he was anticipating this much from Denver, because it is a huge Zerg army.
Yeah, and now there is a lot of these Ravagers in chokes, but remember, there's also Storm that could come into play in these chokes, also benefits greatly from them.
Yeah, Denver's like really hunting down ShoWTimE at this point. The burrow is finished. There is an observer here. Denver, he's choosing not to fight the army with it, though. He's choosing to split up and, I think, go for the economy here.
Stormers. Yeah, I guess the Storm is just not ready yet, unfortunately. Did he start it?
I don't know. No, he hasn't started it, and he's not.
Oh, he's chrono boosting it, so he doesn't realize it. Yeah, he thinks Storm is about to finish this entire time, and this is costing him dearly. He completely forgot. I mean, he's chrono boosting the Storm. It's just not happening. No.
He just lost a couple of Immortals there too, getting his army grabbed out in the open.
Oh man. I mean, 6 Storms makes the world of difference here, right, in this fight. I was questioning Denver there for moving some of his army away because I thought he needed all of it once the Storms came into play, and it seemed like ShoWTimE was playing for those Storms, but now it's a difficult position for the German, though he does have that battery overcharge.
It was actually holding on against like 12 Roaches and 4 Ravagers or something crazy. ShoWTimE, though, he's still fighting against this. The thing is, he doesn't really have much tech left. I think he has 1 Immortal left on the field, just a handful of Stalkers and Zealots. And Denver, behind all this, he's on 68 drones.
Yeah, and this is the type of position when Denver, I feel, thrives, especially in this matchup. I think he really likes to apply pressure. I don't think that he's going to allow ShoWTimE to ever take a 4th here, quite honestly.
No, and he's maxed out against 129 supply of ShoWTimE. The Warp Prism kind of forced away from the army as well, meaning he loses both Immortals, and Denver takes the first map.
Yeah, and Storm at 90%, they're done towards the end of the game, so eventually ShoWTimE realized and even warped in Templars because they're really that valuable, right? 6 Storm difference. I mean, that fight is completely different for sure.
Oh, but having like 4 or 5 high Templars, like A, not turning them into Archons, B, chrono boosting the upgrade that's never happening, like that was definitely a blunder by ShoWTimE, because a lot of that game he handled really well, but you know when you think you have that the big weapon coming in and you're so sure about it, you're like, I'm chrono boosting it, where is it, why can't I cast it with my what a blunder by ShoWTimE. But Denver, you know, he pounced and he took advantage of like the one kind of way that he had to win. Like he forced that recall earlier on that we were kind of like, oh, that's a bit of a weird recall, but I guess he took ShoWTimE by surprise and he just kept on going. So good tenacity by Denver.
Yeah, I think that part of it that maybe we weren't paying that much attention to, that ShoWTimE maybe felt afraid about, is A, if you're ShoWTimE, you think you have Storm back there. You see the gigantic army, you think the only way I lose this is if he kills me, right? So maybe from that perspective, he thinks I'm just not going to risk it at all, because he also didn't have any sentries at the time. So even though I think they would have traded more or less okay, and that would have been fine for ShoWTimE, I feel like he felt this is an all-in, and I think he was right in his assessment. The problem was that the Storm wasn't making, right? So he pulls back to a defensive position where the Storm benefits from the chokes, and it just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, and it's definitely a good way for Denver to start the series, though. Like a win like that against ShoWTimE after, I don't want to say being on the ropes against the Adepts, because he handled it very well. Like the Spine Crawl at the third base as well. I think he did a lot of things right, and he's obviously very good with the Roach Ravager army and the Burrow as well. Even though I was questioning that definitely pulled ShoWTimE apart quite a bit, which, yeah, got to give him a lot of credit. And speaking of the man, spawning over in the bottom right-hand side of Death Aura, it is Denver.
And trying to come back in the top left-hand side of the map, it's the Red Protoss. It is ShoWTimE playing for big.
I almost forgot that he was part of Team Big there, but And I do like that name.
Big ShoWTimE?
Big ShoWTimE, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really got to get their hands on Hero Marine, no?
I mean, big Gabe? Like, that would be really cool.
I mean, at that point, you just name yourself Gabe, right? And you join Big and you're good.
Not a day goes by in my life where I don't think about Hero Marine renaming to Big Gabe or something like that, like not a day goes by. But anyhow, talking about this match. So everything's going fairly standard so far. We don't have like a hatch block or anything from the Protoss. Actually, I'm not even sure if you can get it on this map because despite the speed zones, it is definitely a little higgledy-wiggledy in the middle, trying to get through that little like kind of S formation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a particularly large map. I really haven't done the testing here. But I'm not sure. The last map feels like just as long at least, right? And he got the block off.
I'm just waiting for one of those guys on like Team Liquid or Reddit that's going to give you the exact times to cross the map. I remember Zombie Grub turning up to one of the LAN events. I think it was Katowice, and she had this little notebook with all the times that took to go across, like down to the decimals of a second. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
With workers, like ramp to ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important. That's super useful to know the travel distances. When I played more seriously, that's something that I was really concerned with because it really gives you information on what makes the maps unique and basically what strategies could be at their best, if nothing else,
Oh yeah, I mean, when maps aren't so obvious and it's like, okay, I can do the like quick adept on certain maps to punish certain races, but not others. Like it's obviously valuable info. But so Stargate opening here by ShoWTimE. Like I know that he's been experimenting with the adept opening and such, but ShoWTimE for me has always been a guy that's excelled at Oracle play.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he is rock solid, and the Oracles are the kind of unit that, like you said before, if you keep alive for long enough, they have utility throughout, and ShoWTimE is so very good just at the little things and at...
Phoenix first. This can lead into a few things. If you're a Rotti fan, you'll be hoping to see like number 8, 9, 11 Phoenixes coming out as well, but this can also be a Phoenix first to clear out an Overlord, followed up by an Oracle afterwards.
Most likely, yeah.
And then you kind of have this situation where not only can you kill the Overlord with the Phoenix, but the Phoenix can lift up a Queen, allowing the Oracle to deal a little bit of extra damage to those mineral lines.
Yeah, you could even wait for a second Overlord or Oracle and go for that same move. I really like it when Protoss wait for the second Oracle a lot of the time, because the first one, gets repelled and you do much less damage than if you just wait for two and have one just tank the damage from the Spore, right? Like lift one of the Queens, then you're tanking one Spore and one Queen, or something maybe worst case scenario, because Zerg can't really have like 3 Queens in a base very easily, right?
That is true. I like that Denver had these 2 patrolling Lings at a certain point. We see one at the 12 o'clock location too, just to find out what comes out of the Protoss base. And even though you might be looking at this little squad of Lings like, oh, what is it? It's just to try and keep tabs and find out what his opponent's doing and where it's going to be happening. But Denver's reacting very appropriately here. These Spores, it seems like it's just finished as these Oracles and these Phoenix arrived. But so far, it did exactly what he wanted to do. But he did take quite a bit of hull damage.
Yeah, 3 drones. I mean, I'm not sure because that kind of puts dampen on what he can do with the second Oracle now, because this Oracle can get targeted down.
He's going for a third as well. Is this normal?
Yeah, because the Oracles get you so much map control, and he's going for a third Oracle. There's ways to punish this kind of play. I think Lambo, for example, likes to do liked at least to do something like a Queen push with Roach Ravager. I personally like to do like Queen drops with Lings. And stuff like that. Like whenever the third Oracle is out, Protoss tends to play a little bit greedy on the back of, Zerg usually has to move out with Roaches or Lings across the map. Lings trade horribly against, they don't trade at all actually against Oracles, but they die very quickly.
Oh, so
the Oracles.
Yeah, this could get quite a bit of damage done. A bit of misclicking there by ShoWTimE. Does take out 7 drones, but loses 1 Oracle and 2 Adepts for it. I don't think Denver's going to be too sad about that, and he just immediately held down the drone key as soon as that was happening.
Yeah, he is comfortable knowing that he doesn't need units to defend against much ground if he has committed this much money to the air. And now we'll confirm that the army of ShoWTimE is nowhere near ready to fight or move out anytime soon. So as a result, we see even further more droning, upgrading, and tech dropping on the side of Denver.
And he is opting for melee upgrades as well as Hydra. So this looks like he's going to be going for some Hydraling Bane composition, most likely. And yeah, the Baneling Nest does start as well.
I love this move by ShoWTimE.
The move
this
out.
Is a fake, yeah, it's a fake move out, pretty much, right? Like, you can't really commit to this, but you want your opponent to see it, maybe clear a little bit of creep, force some army units instead of drones, and that's all he's looking for. He has to be careful, however, not to overextend.
This is so brazen. Like, you have to be so aware of what your opponent's doing. And now he gets a nice scout off as well. Like, you can't do... Say if you're a noob and you're like, okay, I move out this time. No, because you could potentially be playing against a Zerg player that just massed a huge army and just overwhelms you and like shuts you down and kills you. But ShoWTimE's been very diligent with his scouting. He did that move.
Fantastic composure from Denver too, right? Like, he didn't really make any links, any army that, you know, is made to punish this army. He just carefully continued to make drones and Hydras. You want a base number of Hydras to just have available. So perfect reaction from him as well.
It's good level. It's really good level PvC this game. Like, it's a lot more standard. Denver hasn't been under the pressure from the Adepts or anything early on, or at least like not super pressure. And so far he's handled it very well. Getting in all those upgrades as well, even getting Overlord speed. The Overlord speed, is that just to keep his Overlords alive, or is that potential for something kind of crazy later on?
Yeah, for scouting as well, just consistently. Primarily to have Overlords out on the map that don't get easily picked off from Phoenixes or Stalkers, right? Like single Stalkers and stuff like that, which Protoss doesn't really want to make too much of.
Yeah, like in my head, I always have, you know, when you think about the other races, I always have this vision of like +2 Baneling drops are so good against Protoss in general. In fact, has that changed, that dynamic now with probes and stuff? I think it has, right?
No, I don't believe so. No, or does it?
I think that was, I thought that's why they kind of did it, but actually no.
I thought it was, well, the main reason was the brunt of the army, but I'm not sure. Now you've confused me. I hadn't thought about it. No, I took it for granted. Okay.
No, they still one-shot probe. So I'm looking at the +1 damage. Yeah, I scared myself too. So +1 damage gives them 39 light damage. So they're still going to have enough with +2, regardless of what it is.
Amazing. And yeah, that's a thing that Zerg can do, but a lot of the time Zergs just kind of run in their Banes into the natural, like just multi-prong attack on multiple sides and see what Banes can do, because Banes are so very good. Even if they don't get to the probe line, they'll clear things like cannons, shield batteries, run into units. So a lot of the time Zergs don't even bother with the Overlords.
No, that is a good point. So +2/+2 coming in for both these players. Big on attack, not on upgrades. That is totally normal. Wow, the War Prism.
Yeah, very nice job. Very nice job from Denver. Would love him to hold position on some of these drones. No need anymore, as the Zerglings are here. And the next timing that we're looking for on the side of ShoWTimE is his Storm, which he's now getting. So that's going to close a window where Denver can potentially do a lot of damage. But it seems like Denver's still looking to push. And I mean, he's maxed. So this is a big attack.
Yeah, I'm a bit scared for ShoWTimE. Like, he's got a good spread of units and stuff, and he does have Storm ready. But still, this number of Hydraling Bane has to be super respected.
Oh, most definitely. And Denver's going to do the proper thing and trickle in. I'm not sure how he's going to leverage that position on the high ground, but I wouldn't want him to come just from this one side. This seems awfully risky, especially against Storm. However, there are no force fields, which is kind of weird, right? Because there's our single Ravager hasn't been made, and these Banelings connect with the one Templar that had energy. This is looking dire for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, there aren't enough units here. The Archons are falling. The battery overcharge goes down, and it's keeping alive these units as much as it can. But there is just so much
Templar. The Templars, but no, they were so out of position. They were sitting at the third. I think Denver must have identified that these Templars were not at the natural. Gets rid of the one Templar that had a Storm, souls off the rest, and my God, this is all Denver.
This is all Denver. Lots of probes are falling now. 19 going down thus far. Denver with like a 50-60 supply lead right now. And it's not over. Denver's just making more and more units. Back at home, he is on equal bases 4, as his 5th was stopped by ShoWTimE. But ShoWTimE is under so much pressure. 33 Banes being morphed.
Great creep spread as well. And now ShoWTimE warping in sentries. And I mean, when you're warping in sentries at this point, that feels bad, right? Also, Templars being warped in. They are being chased after. The Zealots have to sacrifice their own lives, man.
Oh, and he lost his 4th as well. And look at that. That is a lot of banelings. And GG. Denver with the